Hi YouTube, welcome back to my garage for this November 2023 progress update. There has been a lot of progress. I haven't filmed all of it, I'll be honest, partly because I'm lazy and filming is a massive faff, but also because a lot of it's just been repetitive, dull, menial process. So it's a bit all over the place, this video. I'm going to introduce each little section. Some of them are a few minutes long, some are seconds long, of just me taking random bits off or working on something, or as you can see down here, painting the gearbox. That's been a massive drama. But I'll try and introduce everything as clearly as I can, and you can see what I've been up to in the last few months. So I think I shall start where I left off in the last video, which is the power steering cooler, which I've now finished. So let's pop that in to begin with. Right, the thinner's worked about as well as I thought it might. It kind of loosened the surface of the paint into lots of squidgy globules. So that was fun removing that. And then I managed to get the wire brush on the bits that I could get the wire brush on. I did catch this area with the wire brush as well, so I've had to sit and re-bend out a few prongs. Stuck some bits of wire down the tubes. They're kind of wedged in there, so I've got something to hold on to. So I'm gonna take it outside because I can't be asked to sheet everything up in here, and give it a bit of primer. It's a couple of days later and the part is finished. That last shot of me spraying the paint outside, that was a mistake. I'd warmed the garage in preparation for paint curing. I'd even warmed the part just to make life, well, I thought to make life easier for me. Obviously, it's cooler outside, so as soon as I went outside, evaporation? No, what's the other one? Condensation happened. Moisture, paint, bad mix, dried my metallic paint all cloudy and horrible. I did then realise my mistake. I should have known, because I used to wear glasses when I was a child, and so I know about the whole hot room, walk outside, can't see fuck all thing. So it's my bad, just a stupid mistake. I just let it dry overnight and then painted it again, and it was fine. Obviously I did it in the garage, and I didn't have any temperature changes. And it looks lovely now, probably, well, far better than new, I can guarantee, because when I get these parts sort of old stock, they've always been battered about in storage for a bit, so they're never as shiny as this. You can even see that nice, I could have just done them in gloss black, but I really like this metallic black. It's got a really nice sparkle to it. Up next is a very random little clip of me removing the trims on either side of the headlining. I'm not removing the headlining or anything, but when I come to weld, I will have to remove those trims before I go anywhere near the front aperture A-pillars. So I guess I just decided to drop them out while I was on with something else, and I did film it, just in case it was useful for anyone else. I've run out of brandy, by the way. I've had to steal some of the girlfriend's Baileys. So you've got to jump in the back. It's quite tight, as you'll know, and locate this hook here, pull the flap down. Not sure why I put that in yet. Just ignore that for now. unscrew that, remove that hook, then you can go to that bit at the back. If you pull it forward, that gives you access to the light, which you can disconnect, and then it all just pulls away. It's all just push clicked in. So you can pop that out and pop out the headlining side roof trim, whatever it's called. So that's it. Just a simple little bit there. Next clips are of me fitting some reflector gold heat tape to my power steering lines. I did this years ago, but I didn't really know how to apply it properly. The OEM high pressure line does come with heat protection, by the way, but it tends to break apart. It's got a very fragile sort of tin foil coating on it, especially when you're trying to manhandle lines in and out of the subframe. It just gets broken and it crumbles everywhere. So given the opportunity, I would remove it anyway, which I did a few years ago. And here I am putting the reflector gold tape on again in a slightly more professional manner. It withstands radiant heat up to, I think, 450 degrees C, which is massive overkill for this application, but it's shiny. So the process is fairly simple. You just need to get a rough idea of the circumference of whatever it is you're applying the protective tape to. Make sure it's spotlessly clean, obviously, and then cut strips out. Sometimes you'll need to cut the strip thinner. This is the 2.5 inch tape, so you might want to cut it down to kind of whatever suits, especially if you're going around bends and things like that. There's all sorts of, I think there are some instructional videos actually if you search. I think Reflector Gold have released some of their own promotional videos showing how to apply the tape, so I don't really need to do that. It is, by the way, a massive faff to separate the tape and the backing. So if anyone from Designer Gold's watching this, please redevelop your tape with a little access strip to the side. That would be fantastic. You then just stick it on in strips. Like I said, in hindsight, I probably would have done this first bit in thinner strips. I actually start this again. You'll see in a sec in the next clip, because I wasn't happy with how this went on. I didn't have the tube, or the pipe, sorry, completely flat, so you end up with creases, which to some people would be acceptable, but not for me. I want it on completely flat. Obviously, it's a flexible tube or pipe anyway, so once you move it about, it does get creased afterwards, but I wanted to start off with it all as perfect as possible, if that makes sense. I then want to work my way down the pipe with kind of a half width overlap, so a bit like that. That's the general idea anyway, and make sure I've got no creases and everything's stuck. It does stick incredibly well. That's the other thing. I like that it's shiny and that it sticks really well. So there you can see I've started again because I wasn't happy with that end strip. I go back and complete that later, but I'm just working my way along. That's much better. That's perfect. I'm happy with that. So that's that done. So there now, oh no, I haven't finished off this last strip yet, have I? So you can see I did cut the last strip down. So it's a little bit thinner. It makes it a little bit more accurate. So if you want super accuracy, you need to go for strips about that thick, I think. But this is near enough for me. Now it's done. So that's now protected up to 450 degrees and looking all beautiful and shiny. So that makes me happy. Obviously I will polish up all the metal bits and the pipes themselves at a later date, and there it is next to the low pressure hose. I'll just introduce this next section while I'm in the pub having a coffee. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, this is a bit of additional metalwork I've added to the front scuttles. Been doing a bit of metal fabrication, is that what it's called? When it's this amateur, I don't think you can call it fabrication. But anyway, I explained another day that because of my amateurishness, I realised I probably didn't want to be welding edge to edge along here when I put those replacement panels on. So I think I explained I was planning on making some sort of shelf. So obviously I did that bit last time. That gives me something to spot weld onto, and I wanted to do the same here. So I've made the piece for this side, so that follows the contour of what goes on under here. So all I've got to do on this side is drill some holes now and spot weld that in, and I've got a steady shelf. Hopefully, I don't know, but hopefully that'll be more than strong enough to give me something to weld onto when the plate's on. That's the plan on that side. The other side, if I just squeeze around here, was a little bit more complicated. Again, because of my amateurishness reaching even higher levels. I realised when I cut this, I didn't leave myself anything. Not quite sure why I did that. Let's just take this off. It's just held on so I could check that it was going to work. Yeah, I didn't leave myself anything at all, so I would have to weld straight up to there, edge to edge, which I don't particularly want to do. So on this side I have done a bit more fabrication, kind of copied the other side, but I put some flaps. And my plan on this side, so again that slots in there, is a bit more complicated as well, because this is a curve. You probably can't see on video, but it goes up a bit of a hill. So originally I just made this flat with some flaps, and then I had to cut them out. Sorry, I made it with one long flap. And then I realised it needs to be able to bend this into the shape, so I made them into tabs. That seems to fix that problem. So that will lock in there. If I just clamp that back on. I bet I'll drill holes here, maybe here. And then I'll drill some holes through the bulkhead here somewhere. I need to remove that tab out of my way. Find those tabs and weld it on that way. And again, I can also drill a hole here and spot weld that on. And before I sort of commit, I'll sort of knock it about so that it follows this contour. That's the plan anyway. And then I've obviously got the back plate in place on this side as well. We're welding to this edge here. I've got something there to weld onto, and this bit's hollow. So I think that covers all the issues that I was concerned about. I haven't practiced welding yet still. I've been very busy with other things, but that's the plan anyway. I'm just going to leave that there. Also, I did all that first take, just measured it up really accurately. And these bits here, these are just some bits that I cut so that I could practice welding. That's what they're for. I know they're the same shape and everything, but it's just pure coincidence. These next clips are possibly useful to someone. This is stripping down the air inlet manifolds. Let's get these inlet manifolds stripped down. There's quite a few parts on these that I'd like to take to the plating place and possibly get plated. I have had all this stripped down 2 or 3 years ago. These throttle bush, whatever they're called, these bushes here, originally they're like a soft black rubbery affair, and after 20 years of use they go crumbly. They tend to just disappear, and you find your throttle mechanism is all shit basically. Obviously you can replace them with the standard one. I think it's about £2, so that's like one each side, £4. Or you can do what I did and find Jag Improver on eBay. He makes all sorts of wonderfully expensive precision pieces himself, and he makes these. massively overpriced, but they appeal to my sense of detail. So, yes, where do we start? Let's just flip it over. The first thing you want to do, so what side is this? This is the side with the throttle position, not TPS. What's it called? The thing that does the thing where the coolant temperature affects the amount of air that comes in. TPS? Throttle position. Fuck me, I can't remember what it's called. But anyway, this is the passenger side. I know that. So let's just hang it over here so that I can have it open or closed. So on the passenger side, on mine anyway, you just want to make a note of what's coming in or not coming in to the throttle body, because a couple of years ago, one of these original plugs, I think they're usually just a little black cap, had fallen off. And that obviously means way too much air is getting sucked in to the throttle body at idle. And I had a really high idle, and it took me ages to figure out what was going on, because this isn't very visible. So if you do have a high idle all of a sudden, one thing to check is that your throttle bodies are plugged and connected correctly. So I looked on the diagrams for mine, and basically they should both be connected like this. The previous owner had obviously had this problem because he'd made some plugs similar to me out of some garden hose. So that was great. I went one step further and actually found some hose that fits and is a little bit more car automotive based. I might remake these or try and source actual plugs this time. But yeah, those two holes are plugged on mine. So we'll get that out of the way. Oh, the one thing I have already removed because it was flapping about is the throttle return spring. Can't remember off the top of my head where that click. Oh, I think it goes in that. Oops, I'm not filming it, am I? There's a little, let's just zoom in. There's a little hole there. And that end. I don't think it really matters. Probably the long end hooks in there, and that hooks onto something. So I'm going to remove the throttle body, and then that can slide this way, which allows all this to come out of here, if I remember correctly from last time. Why have I got such a long extension on? That's not required, is it? So those are two bolts the same size. That then should come off, and I don't know if you saw that. So with the throttle completely closed, if you just see that little indent there and that hole there, that hole takes the actual shaft. There's a little nubbin on the end that slots in there, and that little prong there locates into there. So obviously if you've got it like that and you try and do that, it's not going to line up. I mean, I think you probably could get it in if it was flipped right over the wrong way. I mean, very bad things are going to happen. So when you're reassembling, just make sure your throttle's completely closed. Line the nubbin and the little flap up, if you like, and that's how it should be. So I'm going to take that away. I think that made sense. I don't know. This is now all free to pull out this way, but it is held in by these little blue retaining clips. They're the same top and bottom. They just hold in a little C-piece shaped bit of metal. And they can be a bit of a twat to get out. You basically got to expand them enough. I might have to get a screwdriver in there. I don't want to bend them though. I think I figured out a way to get them off. I can't remember again how I did this last time. Using my fingers alone just isn't quite strong enough, so I'm just pressing on these two bits at the back just to start it off. Oops, get it lined up. And then just have enough strength in my fingers just to pull it off. When that goes back together, you need to make sure that one side of these two holes goes over, and then you need to, crap. What I was trying to say was, you need to make sure that one side goes over the C piece of metal, leave a gap, get this other bit, that needs to go in between, sandwiched if you like, between the two metal bits, and then click it back on. Something like that. You see what I mean? Yes. Okay. So now I've got to get that off again. Great. That then, as you saw, frees up this shaft, and obviously we don't need to worry about how to align it, because as I said before, we'll get the throttle body on in the closed position, and it can only go in one way. Okay, yes. Don't really have a particular order to things, as you may have noticed. That's it. Definitely a decent method. So there's your C piece and the other clip. They're identical, so we don't need to worry about mixing them up. I'd like this piece off this piece. If we just look down here, it's held on with a little retaining. Let me just turn the light on. There we go, a little retaining clip. I can't remember what they're called. C clips, E clips. Slightly extreme zoomed in. I'll try and hold my head still, but there's always a little point here or here for you to get your screwdriver in and just pull it down and off. So this is what I'm going to do. You see that? Can you see? There we go. That's C clip, E clip. What are they called? I've written it on the front of the box. I've got some spares. E clips those are. What are C clips then? Oh yeah, C clips are those type of thing. So I think they're called E clips. Doesn't really matter. So the small one goes there. There's another larger E clip here. So same thing. Just want to get our screwdriver in and pull it. Whoops. Pull it up. That came off a bit easier than I was expecting. So there's its big brother. With those two clips off, this bit will now pull away. So that could be plated, you see. That would be nice. I mean, like I said, I cleaned these up a few years ago, but it'd be nice to see them all that nice brass colour. I'm going to push out this bush. So that just, oops, there we go. Just pops out. So if you've got the standard OEM one, it's the same. It's just a bit more flexible. And I don't think it has the C-clip, actually. I think they just sit roughly in there. That might be bollocks. Just ignore me on that. I forgot while I was taking these two plugs out to remove this distributor breather line. I think that's what it is. Where's me pliers? Oh, that came off a lot easier than I was expecting as well. I think that goes to this distributor. I'll remember all this when I watch my videos. That's why I make these videos as I take things apart, because it's for me, not for you. So that now just leaves me with this gubbins here, because I want to get this plate off to the platers as well. So if I remember rightly, we need to undo this. Is that a vacuum line input type thing? Can't remember. It needs to come off. Oh, I've already loosened that off before. I can do that by hand. What is that? 7/16 or metric equivalent? I'm not sure. So that's just that. And then we need the bigger star head thing. We've got a bolt here, which is quite long, goes all the way through to there, and then a shorter one with the same head, whoops, underneath there. So I'll do that one first. I think I loosened these off as well. Yes, I did. So that's the short one, and up top. Oops, there we go, it's all falling off now. Is the longer one. So that goes on like that. There's a gasket there and a gasket there. Lovely. So those are those bits. I think that then, there's this end as well. I don't think I want to faff about with that. I'll strip it down anyway, because I want to clean off these bolts. Actually, yeah, if I'm going to send those bolts off to be plated, they may as well go as well. I haven't loosened these off. So let's get the ratchet out. I assume this is the same. Oh, it's a bit shorter actually. So they're the same length. Right, so those three, let's just bag them up separately. Those three go together. That's all the back end. This should then wobble off. Might need a bit of persuasion. That's well on there, isn't it? I suppose I don't need to take that off, to be fair. I can clean that up. I just wanted the bolts. I'll just leave that for now, but I'm sure that would knock off. It's well stuck on there. Okay, it can just stay on there. Just to recap before I bag it all up, we've got the throttle body, we've got the plugs, which connect onto the inlet manifold in whatever configuration it came off in. So with me, it was 2 plugs and this distributor breather. Then we've got the shaft, the little connecting clips that link it up with this. I'm calling this a C piece, bent bit of metal that operates the thing, and is held on with its own little E clip. The other end's held on with the throttle body, the throttle bush, sorry, throttle linkage bush. I think that's what it's actually called, with its own C clip. Then we got the end plate first, actually, and the back end outlet that connects onto, well, one end goes onto this hose onto the AAV. There we go. I kept saying TPS before. AAV, auxiliary air valve. Finally remembered. I knew it wasn't throttle position sensor. I knew that made no sense whatsoever. Yeah, that goes onto the AAV. I think that other, can't remember which way around it is now. I'll have to look back at my own pictures. One bit goes off to the AAV, could be that one. And then one goes off to that bridge that goes over the back of the engine. There's like an air bridge. Not sure what it's called. Well, what was I doing? Yeah, so that's all the back end stuff that's held on with the long bolt, the short bolt. I fingered those in the wrong order there. Long bolt, short bolt, and the thing that's a bolt but also has a inlet on it. That'll connect up to some vacuum hose that I will have covered in a previous video when I disassembled the things off the manifold. And then the front end again has a breather type vacuum hose thing and 2 bolts the same length. I think that's everything. Yeah, and I can't get that front cap off. I'm sure it will come off. I don't need to take it off, so I'm just going to leave that, because all I'm going to do with this is I've got some replacement plaques. So this is coming off, and then I can decide how much I want to polish this, because it's quite a rough surface, so I'm not going to get some sort of chrome finish on it without a hell of an amount of work. But I'm hoping if I go over with the wire brush, it'll brighten up a lot, and I can maybe give it a coat of lacquer to stop it going all dull again. Or I could paint it in a bright aluminium. I could paint it bright pink, couldn't I? I'm not going to do that. But anyway, that's now stripped down. There's nothing on there getting in my way. And I've got all these bits off now. I can decide which ones to bag up to take to the plating place. Like, I won't bother with them. They're lovely and new anyway, and you don't see them. But it'd be nice to see those plated up. I need to check I can get new gaskets. I'm sure I can, and they're not expensive. But I do always check before I commit to stripping these off and destroying them. I mean, I guess you can make your own gasket for that. It's only air, so it's not super critical. But they're probably about £3 or £4 each. But every now and then you check and they're like 45 quid or something ridiculous, and you wish you hadn't destroyed them. Maybe that's why I didn't replace those. I'm sure they're the originals. Oh, I don't know, actually. That came off very easily. It just seems to have rusted at the end very quickly for a new gasket. I think that's the original gasket. I think I was just being cheap. Or, like I said, maybe I looked into it and they were fantastically expensive. I'll see if I can source some original plugs just for my own OCD detailing. If not, I'm going to make something a little bit prettier than that for when we reassemble. They don't need plating. They just need cleaning. They're actually quite a nice blue. That might be nice. All that gold. That can just get polished up. New gasket. And the nuts and bolts. There are no nuts, just the bolts. Gold as well. Yes. Right. Bag that up. And then we've got the driver's side one to do. Just before I finish bagging up the passenger side inlet manifold, just thought I'd video taking this distributor breather apart as well, just so I make sure I put it back together. So this is for my own records, as all this stuff is. It goes like this, okay? Future Mike. And do you want to see it the other way around? Probably swearing at this video now in the future, going, why did you not film both ways and this way? You can never have too many videos and views of things, trust me. They're both right angle hoses, but this one, it's not very healthy, but I think that goes into the distributor. Yes. Oh, no, it doesn't. No, that's bollocks. Right. See, I'm already forgetting things. Right, I've disconnected that connector off the inlet manifold, so the sort of shorter, uneven right angle hose goes onto the inlet manifold, and the more even right angle goes onto the distributor. I think that's right. I keep saying distributor breather. I'm 99% sure that's what it was. I could be wrong. It has occurred before. How stubborn are these going to be? Not too stubborn. Right, so that's the one that goes onto the inlet manifold. The other end, which has this on. I wonder what that does. That'll do a thing, won't it? Can't remember now. That's probably in a previous video. There's going to be a lot of YouTube video watching when I come to put some of this stuff back together. Of my own videos. There we go. Right, and that's the other end. 2 clips. And this. I'm going to assume that holds it down onto something. Probably. Actually, I do vaguely remember. I think that screws onto the jack shaft top cover or something. I don't remember. It doesn't really matter anyway. I will figure that out later. Does that want to come off there? Needs opening up a bit, doesn't it, to get it over the end. Right. I mean, actually, those clips, because these are quite hard to come by. Good quality automotive clips. I'll see if I can source new ones of that particular style. I think I've mentioned before, I've got a big box here of spring clips, and it says underneath in brackets crap, because they're what? Filming. Yes, as I was saying before I was rudely interrupted. Yeah, spring clips crap. I just press stop there instead of zoom out. Basically, I bought these and they're shit. I should just throw them away, but I haven't actually got round to buying any more. They look the part. You know, that looks very similar to that, but they're just not. I can't explain why. They just don't. They're all a bit random sizes. They're all a bit too big or a bit too small, and they're not quite as refined. But they are nice and shiny. So if I could find some more professional ones that are this shiny, I'll be happy. If not, I'll get them sent off to be rejuvenated. I need to get some spring clips. I can't wait to throw you in the bin. There's the passenger side bag done. Obviously, I've got to break that down into stuff to go off to the platers in the future. But for now, I'm just going to focus on stripping down this driver's side air inlet manifold. Let's start off with it this way up. So what have we got on this one? Well, let's start at that's the front, that's the back. Move out of my way, tools. Let's just spin you around. So on the back here, I've left a couple of pipes on. So if we're looking in this configuration, that goes into that little red translucent pipe that runs to some ECU down in the passenger side footwell. That's in a video from a very long time ago. Can't remember which way around that was now already. Was it that way or that way? Doesn't really matter. That can go there. That's the first thing to come off. Then we've got this black and white. That goes into the passenger side footwell as well, if I'm not mistaken. That's in a previous video anyway, so I don't need to worry about that. That came off somewhere there. I wasn't paying. It comes off that big one, doesn't it? Wasn't actually paying attention. And I have covered all this in a previous video anyway. When I disassembled it, that's just a plug on that one. So that comes off there. Okay. So that's those done. Let's just pop that there. Let's just do the same procedure as last time. Obviously, we're the other way round. But I'm going to take the throttle body off first again. What do I need for that? I need a small star key. Don't need the extension right now. Okay, that should pop off. Again, same procedure for putting it back. Make sure that the throttle's totally closed. Nubbin goes in there. Little slot goes in the slot thing. We've been through that. That can go over there. Let's undo these. God, my hands are filthy. Excuse me. C-clips. E-clips, not C-clips. Where's my little screwdriver on? There it is. Shaft, first blue clip. Let's get these E-clips off now. See if I can do it without throwing it across the garage this time. Yes, I can. So there's the big one. Means I can push this bush out. Small E-clip. Let's just rotate that round a bit because I want the... Stab myself in the finger, but there's the small one. Ow. That then will come off. I can then undo this other blue clip. There might be a better order doing this. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. I'm going to wish I'd done this blue clip while it was... Probably, actually, in hindsight, it'd be easier to do these blue clips before taking anything else off, because then it's kind of held in situ. Because now I'm going to have to go to the vice, aren't I? Because I haven't got anything to hold on to. I can see what I've cocked up there, basically doing it in that order, but whatever. Ah! I just stabbed myself again in the same place. It's bonfire night in a couple of nights, by the way. So if you hear what sounds like a war zone going on outside, thankfully, with all the events going on in the world, I am, for now, in a war-free country. But there will be explosions and fireworks. Anyway, that's that. Let's get the distributor breather off this side. Pliers. Again, like before, we'll strip that down at the end just to check which way around everything goes. Let's pop that up there for now. So that was on there, wasn't it? There was no plugs on here. There must be other things connected here that I must have taken off on a previous video. I do vaguely remember reaching under there and filming. So let's get this affair off the rear. That requires the bigger star key. Just appears to be 2 bolts on this one. Where's that gone? What's going on there? I didn't take a bolt out of there, did I? That's a bit weird. Seems to be missing a bolt there. Maybe that came off with something else earlier. I'll have to look into that. I feel like there should definitely be something there. There may be a very genuine reason why I took that off previously. Either that or it's been missing for some time. It happens. We'll figure that out later. For now, I'll just ignore it. That's quite long. I think this one's going to be long as well, isn't it? Of course. They're the same length? Yes. Okay. And that goes that way round. Yeah, my phone just ran out of video storage space. Just deleted a few old videos, but hopefully we've got enough space just to finish this off. That plate then comes off. Obviously we've got the same affair with gaskets and things. I'll leave them. I'd rather that wasn't on there. I'd rather it come off with the plate. Yeah, I'll leave that for now, like I said, until I've checked availability and price. And then the only other thing to do on this one is same as the other one on the front. We've got a little vacuum inlet outlet thing and 2 bolts. So I'll just whap them off. Can't film it because I need to leave my phone plugged in on charge, because not only has it run out of space, it's run out of battery as well. Same as the other side. 2 bolts the same length. There's the vacuumy type thing, and this plate doesn't want to come off without a fight, and I don't need it off, so I will just leave that on. Fireworks again. I think that's it for this one. That's now ready for the plaque to be removed, and I can decide what I'm going to do with this slightly dull metal. We'll get everything else laid out. We'll just do a quick check of everything. We'll go through the distributor feed pipe and then get it all bagged up. So same as the other side, we've got our throttle body, 2 bolts for that. No, I'll come to that later. On the back, we've got this bit with the plate, the gaskets in between. That's held on with 2 long bolts, and we're missing a bolt at the moment, so we need to look into that. And then we've got the same affair. One thing I did not mention on the other side is there's a little spacer in here on this end here. It must have just not fallen off in the previous video. I need to just check the other bag and check it's in there, but that spacer just comes on and off there, and it just fell off there. So that goes there. Then on the front, we've got the fixings holding the front plate on that doesn't want to come off. Onto that bit, we've got various vacuum pipes, and then we've got the distributor breather. Again, the same thing where the sort of uneven L piece goes onto the inlet manifold, and the even right angle goes through onto the back. And we've got another, oh yeah, there's, what's that? Seems to be a spare, oh, that clip's come from there, and it's got a little retaining clip again. So I'll strip that down, get it all bagged up, and that's that done. Here's a little section of bits that I have completed and made shiny. I'll start with the air conditioning pump or compressor. So as you can see, the front pulley's been repainted in a lovely, it's actually that metallic black that I did the power steering cooler in. Nice new nut and washer. Electrics have all been cleaned up. The connection where it connects onto the body, again, all polished, although you can't really see, but it's all nice. A nice deep metallic silver, which isn't showing up on the camera at all. Polished the little oil filler thing on the top. Took this ring off and polished that up to a high shine, and then I did actually polish the rear cap to quite a high shine, but I lacquered the whole thing hoping it would protect that shine, and actually it's dulled it slightly, so I'm not 100% happy with that. I might end up taking that back off, repolishing that up and finding a better sort of sealant, if you like, instead of lacquering it. But to be honest, the overall job, I'm happy with that. Obviously I polished up the fittings at the back as well, and that's where your inlet and outlet pipes go. I've still got to sort out the pipes and the plate and the fixing for that. I'll do that another time. But that's now in storage, ready to be fitted back to the car. I've done the same process with the starter motor, metallic silver, metallic black. I reaffixed the sticker afterwards. Actually, that's one thing I forgot I haven't mentioned. I haven't put the stickers back on the pulley and the body of the air conditioning pump. That'll come in due course. I've got them in storage flat. I just need to get some sticky tape, double-sided sticky tape, and stick them back on. Yeah, put a new solenoid on this, and then everything's been given a coat of protective lacquer. So that's all lovely. Pop that down there. So I'm a little bit pissed off with this. This is the power steering pump, which again I've done to bare metal, covered with a coat of clear to protect it, which has worked out lovely. These plates, front and back, have been polished to a high shine, and again they shouldn't corrode again because they've got a coat of clear on them. I'm a little bit annoyed though, because I've noticed, I don't know if I put it away in storage just a little bit too soon. You can just see on the light there, the gloss black pulley has stuck to the plastic bag that I stored it in. So that's going to have to come off and just be redone. It's just 3 bolts and then the pulley comes off. So it's not a massive job. It's a little bit annoying, but I'm learning as I go. I just need to leave that out to cure maybe for a week or so before it actually gets wrapped up in plastic. I have had that problem before. I mean, just in contrast, this has been stored in plastic exactly the same, and I've got no damage at all. So I can only assume that the lacquer just didn't cure quite so well on that pulley. This is the idler pulley, I think that's what it's called, air idler pulley, because UK cars don't have the air pump that the US spec do, and that's come out great. So that's how I'm doing a lot of this stuff, is bare metal, coat of clear, and the pulley in that shiny metallic black. I'll just turn the light on, you can see. So there with the light on, you can see it's not a plain black. It's got a wonderful sparkle to it, which you won't see, but I think it gives the black more shine and more depth. So hopefully when it's all built up, the front of the engine will look really nice. Another job I've completed is the refurb of the water rails. So they've been bare metalled, any sort of copper washers replaced, everything polished up, and then a coat of clear. These sort of start to give an idea of the artistic look that I'm trying to give to the engine. So this kind of, you're supposed to use grip washers here. I've used Loctite, so they're not going to come undone, not in a million years. But instead of using the bland grip washers, I've used copper washers purely for the aesthetic. I like the sort of bare metal and then the copper brass. So that's kind of the look I'm going for with the whole of the engine build. Obviously the gearbox will be that gunmetal grey with nice brass gold fittings. So the whole idea is that when it's all set up, it'll all kind of go together. That's what I'm after anyway. Yeah, this is the front bit again, same with the copper washer detail. That bit's not particularly interesting. That's where the AAV sits. I've got some brand new stainless steel water rails. I'm not going to get them out. They're basically the same as these, but stainless steel, so they don't need polishing and they won't corrode, because this is what tends to happen to the water rails. Obviously I could polish them up to a high shine and give them a coat of clear, but I've got those. I was just looking through the bag for something else, and I just saw the inlet water spout as well. That's been done. Same idea as the water rails. I'm not going to get it out of its bag, but you can see that's in the same stage as these are. I'm just going through this box because the other thing I want to talk about is zinc plating. I'm now looking at doing my own home zinc plating. I'm going to talk about it in more depth in another video. I'm going to do a specific video on home zinc plating. It's a massive faff and quite a highly strung homemade experiment. But when it works, it really works and it's fantastic. So I'm quite excited about it. I wasn't for about a month because I wasn't getting any results. Well, I was getting results and they were shit. But I've started getting some really good results. So I'm hopeful now that I won't have to send stuff off to be plated, but I'll be able to just do it in batches at home, which, like I said, is a massive faff, but it's no less faff than having to bag everything up, list everything, make sure that the platers don't lose anything, etc, etc. So I will do a full video on just zinc plating because it's such an involved process. It deserves a video of its own. I will just talk now very quickly about the process that I've been going through. So this is a standard bolt. I think it's off one of the tensioners. I can't remember off the top of my head. Covered in rust, corrosion, obviously needs cleaning up. So generally, if I've got a big batch of them, I'll chuck them in the vibratory tumbler, which again, I'll cover when I do the zinc plating video. They then come out kind of rust-free, but a dull grey. I then polish them up to as brilliant a shine as I can with the wire brush, so they end up looking kind of new. So that is how they look pretty much after I've cleaned it up. But you can see it's not a uniform colour, it's not super shiny, it is just clean bare metal. Now obviously I could fit that back to the car. I mean, this has been in storage for only a couple of weeks and I can already see it starting to corrode again on the top here. So obviously I'll fit that back to the car, give it a year or so and it'll look like that. So that's no good. So what I've been doing in the past is doing this stage and then covering the shaft with grease, and then once it's fitted to the car I've been giving it a little coat of lacquer just to stop the oxidization and the rust, and that's fairly successful. But what would be nice would be if my bolts all looked like this and stayed like this. Now that is a zinc plated bolt, plated here by me. It started off life looking probably not as bad as that one, I'll be honest, but pretty much like that. So that now I can fit to the car. I shouldn't have to put any lacquer on it or anything, and assuming that the zinc does what zinc is supposed to do, it should stay like that for hopefully a number of years. So that's a set of 4 that I've done. They're for the power steering, not the power steering, sorry, the air conditioning mount, pump mount. So as you can see, if I turn the light on as well, you'll see how shiny they are. They really have come out very well. So I'll talk about zinc plating in detail, but they've been through the zinc plating process and then buffed. And that's the end result. Very happy with that. Obviously, I don't just have to do nuts and bolts and stuff. I can also do things like this bracket. This goes on the back of the gearbox there. Again, actually, I've got a photo of what that looked like before, so I'll just splice that in now. And here's how it looks afterwards. Again, I've just given this basic zinc coating, so that's the silver finish, and then buffed it up as best I can. That probably will end up going on the gearbox and then getting coated with clear, just to make sure it stays shiny for as long as possible. I haven't experimented yet putting clear over, is kind of what I'm saying, so I don't know how that's going to work out, but hopefully it'll be a success. I've also, as yet, got to experiment with the gold passivate finish. These have just been through what's called a blue zinc passivate, which is what gives them this super bright zinc finish. It gets a bit more complicated when you want a gold finish and or a gold blue finish. There's various dips you can do after the plating's been done to achieve different colours, which you'll all have seen. Zinc plated stuff that's gold, some of it has a slightly iridescent gold blue, and some of it's just bright silver like this. So depending on where it goes on the car, I'm going to kind of make a decision as to which process I use to finish them off. We now move on to the drama that is the gearbox priming and painting. I do get it primed by the end of this video, so that's great. But as you'll see, I did have a bit of trouble with this one. So I have made another decision. Sometimes I do question myself why I spend so much time making individual components as beautiful as I can. It really is very time consuming, and I'm very obsessive about it. And I make no apologies for that. It's an art project to me. For some people, these cars are just to be driven. For me, it's 50-50. I really like the engineering. I like working on it. And I like making it all beautiful for some reason. So to justify that a little bit more, because in reality, I'm going to make this gearbox look amazing to me, visually. And then I'm going to shove it back up in the transmission tunnel where no one's ever going to see it again. So I understand. I do. I really understand people saying, why? Why are you doing that? It's just fucking nonsense. No one can see it. As long as it's clean and it's working, what's the point? Well, you're right. There is no point particularly other than it amuses me. And also, I made a decision. I am going to set up the engine, gearbox, maybe the exhausts, on a stand out here when it's all complete, and do a sort of dummy build. Obviously, I won't put the torque converter in, for example. You won't be able to see that. But I'm going to set it all up, to check that everything's how I want it before it goes in the car. And also, I just think that would be a fantastic thing to see. The Jaguar V12 engine and gearbox with its stainless steel exhaust coming out, just set up in the garage. It'd be a great resource. I'll take hundreds of photos, obviously, and videos. So if anyone's wondering where things are in the future, it can be quite difficult to see when it's in the car. Maybe people will be able to refer to that sort of library. And also, just like I said, as an art project, I think it'll just be fantastic. So that gives me a little bit more reason to make everything as beautiful as I can. I'm even coming up with a colour scheme for things. I know I'm mental. But it'll all make sense as I start to put the engine back together, I think. I don't know when that's going to be. I've got a lot of work to do to get all the components ready. But I think when I start to put it back together, I think you'll all start to kind of see what I'm trying to achieve here. And hopefully I'll be successful, and it'll look amazing. So let's stop waffling and get some primer on this gearbox. Now, obviously I use the gun for the primer and I'll use the gun for the clear. The paint I'm just going to do with the rattle can, which might seem a little bit weird, but I can't be bothered to go and get this paint mixed up to stick in the gun to spray on. It's just not worth it. I also don't know what colour I want to do it yet, so this is a bit of an experiment. I'm going to go with this because it's the same colour I did the diff, and I think it'll look nice if it matches up with the diff, even though you can't see it when it's in the car. I know I'm being completely ridiculous, but yeah, I'm going to spray it with this, see how I feel. I think I like this paint. It's a really nice deep grey. It's got a wonderful metallic sparkle, is that the word, to it? And I think it'll go really well with the hardware that I'm going to put back on it, all plated, and I'm going to polish up the cooler lines that come off this side. I think dark's the way to go. Obviously, the usual approach is just a bright silver. I'm going to try something different. I don't know, is what I'm saying, okay? It could look shit. And, whoops, just pulled one of my crow's feet off. Yeah, it could look crap. And if it does, well, I'll go over it again with silver. Doesn't really matter, does it? It'll just be an extra layer of paint. Anyway, let's get this mask on. And now I will sound all muffled. That's fine. I've already shaken this up before, by the way. Which way to go? Let's start at the bottom. That's not coming out very well at all, is it? I did shake it. Why are you being so shit? Let's go for smaller bursts. Oh, come on, this is a shit can, isn't it? That's better. That's how it should be going on. Okay, so this is where everything went quite monumentally wrong. See there? I don't know if you can see. I can't be asked to take a screenshot. This is a little paint imperfection there. It's not massive, but what had happened is, in my initial clean of the gearbox, which involved a lot of wire brushing, brake cleaner, all sorts of horrible chemicals, I'd missed a little bit under here. It's quite hard to see, so, you know, fair play to me. I did the best job I could, but I just missed that. Now, I can forgive myself for missing that. Like I said, visibility was quite difficult during the initial clean. I probably should have picked it up on the primer stage, because then everything was a uniform colour, and I probably should have seen some imperfections here. But I didn't, possibly because I was a little bit giddy at my progress and the paint stage and all that. So I did notice it as I was painting, and I thought, I'll come back to it when it's all dry, which I did. Tried sanding it, using a bit of a bit of thinner to smooth it out. This is where the real problem started. Because I put thinner on, it actually got underneath the primer and started lifting it like a skin. And it was a bit like, I don't know if you've seen that scene out of Father Ted, old sitcom about some Irish priests. There's an episode where they get a car to use in a raffle, and Ted dents it very slightly, and he starts trying to fix it with a hammer. And what starts off as an absolutely minuscule imperfection escalates Vastly.
Should I just straighten that out with the tap of a hammer? Have a look in that box over there. Oops, didn't mean to do that. I just tap it the other way. It's no use, Ted. You'll never get it absolutely right.
Well, that's what happened here. So I started trying to fix that bit, and then I peeled the primer off, and I peeled the primer off, and I peeled the primer off. All the time, the thinner's making it worse, which also made me kind of panic that I hadn't got a good purchase of primer to bare metal. Bit of Google researching, which is always a dangerous idea, led me to believe that I probably should have prepped the bare metal better. All that was bollocks, by the way. Apart from that bit, the primer was on there, 100%. Whatever preparations I had done to the bare metal were more than enough. That primer was welded to the bare metal. But I didn't know this until I'd committed to beginning again, which I know is going to sound mental once I'd got to this stage, but I'd kind of gone down that road because I'd messed up this whole area, and trying to patch it in just wasn't going to work. Now, had I realised how many hours of work it was going to be to start all that again, because basically I had to bare metal all of this again, and unlike the first time where it was kind of bare metal to start off with, so it didn't really matter if I kind of missed a little bit up underneath that fin. Now I've got to remove 100% of primer and paint, and that means getting in every single little nook and cranny. It took hours of my life. Well, I think it took years off my life. It took hours of last week. The only upside, the only positive, if I'm going to claw some positive back from that, is I did 100% better job of bare metaling the gearbox because I was having to be so precise. And also I learned that the primer and the process that I'd used had yielded, is that the right word? Yielded great results. It is, once that primer's on, it is not coming off that metal, not with no normal thinners or anything like that, unless there's an imperfection and it can get underneath. Okay, so the next shot is a rather depressed me back in the garage with a bare gearbox. It's a few days later, and the eagle-eyed viewers among you will notice I've started again. This happens quite a lot in my garage, to be honest. It's kind of 2 steps forward, 1.99 steps back. It's a learning process for me. This is the cleanest bare metal gearbox for the second time, probably ever in the world, apart from aquablasting and that kind of stuff. To do this by hand was a massive undertaking. And I'm knackered, my hands are knackered, the drill's knackered. I've gone through about 1 million wire brush attachments. Anyway, it is what it is. I live and learn. I'm now masking up again, and then I can get the primer on again, and I'm not going to fuck it up this time. That's the plan. Actually, because I can't quite get my little thing that isn't a hammer in there. Don't tear it off. Come on now. There. That'll do. That's lovely. That's got a random grommet in, but it's got a hole through it, so I need to pop a bit of tape on that. A little bit less tape. I did check well, I kind of know this gearbox inside out by now. If that bit of tape ends up disappearing down that hole when I pull it out, I'm going to be taking the sump off again anyway, and I can get to that hole. It's not some thing hidden deep in the bowels of the gearbox, so I can push that in. That's blocked up. that's fine. The sump, by the way, I'm going to leave scruffy. Same with the engine gearbox, engine sump, sorry, until I put everything back on the car, probably, or if I have it all mounted up on display while I take the photos, and I can get to the sumps, because I keep resting basically the engine and the gearbox on their sumps, and they're going to get scratched, is what I'm getting at. So I don't really see the point in making them all beautiful at this point. Right, that's it on that side of the gearbox. I've already been in before I put the sump on. Obviously I've masked up the sump and the gasket because I don't want paint on that. That hole for the electronics is masked up. I've got this charade to do now. Let's just get some brake cleaner on that before I start. I mean, it shouldn't have any oil on it, but it's always a good idea to get it clean first. I've just noticed there's a telltale that I've just missed that little bit, so I'm just going to nick that little bit off. There we go. Just wiped that off with a knife. I've actually run out of thick masking tape at the minute, which isn't ideal because it's taking me a bit longer than it probably needs to get all these things masked up. Okay, that's we don't want the selector clicky thing. I don't know what that is. Must be some adjuster. Look into that at some point. That's not masking, that's a little nick in the metal, that's fine. Right, not bothered about. I'm not going to go mental spraying loads of stuff up in those threads, but they just hold on some fixings. These are all blanked holes, same on the other side, there's a few of them. That just leaves this front cavern where the torque converter does its spinning about. I've already put a bit of gaffer tape along the edge. I want to, there's a bit of metal here and here. It's covered mainly by that tin plate that covers the flex plate and the torque converter, but there is a little bit showing, so I've left that exposed because I want to get that with the primer and paint. But what I don't want is loads of paint in here. I did try masking this off because I was going to paint the inside of here, but trying to mask that off was a nightmare. It's always slightly oily. I think because I've had the gearbox up on its end, I've had transmission fluid up against this seal, and it's I don't know if it's leaking slightly. But anyway, I just couldn't be arsed. So I'm just going to do a skirt down now. Ugh. So basically from there downwards and all the way round. And then, because I don't want to spray my stand, or my lift rather.
Everything reminds me of you, but everything is not enough. Feeling out by the ocean, and all of those white hot sands, where every sunrise is just for you. So come along and take my hand.
So that's it for this November update. Hopefully I'll get another video in before Christmas, probably at end of year Christmas special, to say thank you to all of you for watching and subscribing, which still amazes me because this must be one of the most boring channels on YouTube. So I really appreciate that people subscribe. Thank you. I'll maybe do something special. Maybe I'll get my welder out for the first time and drink brandy whilst trying to learn how to weld and try and make something Christmas based. Yeah, I might just do that. I might do fuck all in the car and just set fire to my face full of brandy for Christmas. On a more serious note, I'd like to get that painted, built up, all the bits on it, and that can go into storage. I've also got that 4-litre gearbox hiding there, looking like some sort of dead ET next to the engine. Be nice to get those wrapped up. I'd like to get that 4-litre gearbox done because I want to sell it because it's just getting in my way. So that's something that I would like to achieve before the end of the year. Obviously, I'd like to get a lot more than that done. So we'll see how much I get done over the next month. I'll see you in December.